What's going on, everybody? It's been a while. Been getting at work, but hey, that's no excuse. I am back and just in time to explore our recent events. Work 8. Fascinating bit of drama that's been going on here. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all the ladies are all up in arms about why black men won't protect black women and whatnot. And, it's all this same old stuff over and over again. This is Chicago all over again. What do you expect to happen? If you're out of pocket and you're in places where things are going to happen, you run your mouth and you say things like you don't need men. Men are an afterthought. In the new world, we don't need men. All we need is other women. Lesbianism is the way, and all these other things that this young lady was talking about. And it's ridiculous. From what I've gathered, she's a Somali immigrant. She's come over and she couldn't act a fool in her own country, but she can come over here and act a fool and bathe in the new age womanism that black women have seemed to export all around the globe. You have women over in Africa and these other countries that are black are starting to act just as ratchet as some of the worst black women in media. And we constantly hear that it's our fault. It's black men's fault that this type of activity is going on. We show the stats, we show the data, we show that historically these women have refused protection and provision from black men, but then it's always black men's fault. We're always characterized as abusers and of every sort, to black women, even though the data doesn't support anything that they're talking about. Gigi did a show, today. By the time I put this up, it'll be yesterday. But showing some of that data. I pulled up data from FBI reports and whatnot that show that the incidence of black men unaliving black women is lower, and has been lower for some time. And these women still choose to deny the fact or to refuse to acknowledge that the statistics and data show that they are 9 times out of 10 the instigators of the provocateurs of the violence that takes place, because you always got to have the last word. You always got to have your say. You always got to tell a man how sorry he is. And it's just crazy. That things that we see all the time are just basically just being brushed off. I was in one of the groups that I'm in Facebook. I had one of the young ladies that I talk to all the time. She came on, she did this post, well, do you feel protected by black men? And the majority of the women in there said they didn't feel protected by black men. And then she goes on and on. In fact, let me see if I can pull it up and read it for you. But her, her reason for posting that is her disdain for how we make excuses for white women. It's always the white women. You notice that? It's always, just like when Pearl came into on the scene. They start trying to attach Pearl to us, even though we had nothing to do with Pearl. Nothing to do with it. We all said, hey, Pearl is just using, Kevin's talking points, and what she's saying is pretty much true, until she started getting wild, talking about, Hitler and, and all that kind of stuff. And, but she pretty much stayed away from addressing black women. But then they'll say, she's talking about black. No, she never did that. So, and we didn't really care anything about her in the first place. We were over here doing our own thing. But you had people who kept trying to attach her to the black ministry. And she had nothing to do with this. So, let's see here. See if I can find this post here, but it is just fascinating to me how we always get put in a position where we have to try to defend ourselves about, somehow siding or being with white women, but they never have to talk about, how they want to divest and be with black men. Let me be with white men. Excuse me. So, and here it is. She says, and this was 3 days ago. Black women, do y'all feel protected by black men? Okay. And this young lady said, no. If you aren't lily white, some black men do not feel empathy or sympathy or compassion towards black women enough to feel obligated to protect us, nor do a lot of them uplift us. A white woman and a black woman can do the same things, and black men will make excuses for the white woman, then talk bad about the sister and feel no sympathy. And I laugh at this because this is the most disingenuous comment that I've read concerning this. This has nothing to do with the real reasons why you don't feel protected. The real reasons why you don't feel protected is because you don't want to do what anybody tells you to do. You want to be ratchet. You want to get out there. You want black girl magic, and basically one up men and show how much better you are than men, and in every way. Even when it doesn't even require it. You want to compete and get out and make a scene. And then who has to come clean up the mess after you make that scene? It's always the man that's with you. And, why should a man have to come and put his life on the line? We already know there's several men, hundreds of men who have been killed trying to step in and trying to protect a woman who was out of pocket. Start a bunch of mess, call your brothers over there. We just saw a high profile case where this lady, tells these guys to come over and beat up the ex-NFL player, because he supposedly, hit her and did all these other things. But then when you look at the video, he didn't do any of that. You look at the trial, she lied up and down in the whole trial. She got no charges, but she got a man murdered. Well, not murdered. She got him killed, over something that she said. This ain't the first time. This is what we see where, black women weaponize surrounding black men that have nothing to do with what's going on with them, and throw them into the fray and use them as cannon fodder. Because what they've learned is that black men are disposable. We'll do what we will with them, and then the ones that we want we'll be with. The ones that we don't want, hey, we just scoot on by them and act like they don't even exist. There was a Instagram post where a young lady talked to her older mother and asked her, has she ever hit her father? Was she ever so mad at him, that she hit him? And she said, hit him for what? She said, because you were just mad and you just wanted to hit him. And she said, for what? And why would I hit him when he's probably going to hit me back? So that woman, she knew that it was insane for her to get into even, she didn't even raise her voice to the man, but we have these women who provoke violent incidents with people, and they know that the retaliation is going to be overwhelming and swift, something that they won't be able to weather. I was watching one of the videos from our supposed allies, in the space, woman's perspective over there, and concrete and gang, and she made a statement about how shouldn't a man, because he is since we're these such evolved life forms that we should not be driven by our emotions. Shouldn't he be able to control his emotions? And yeah, you can control your emotions to a point, but you don't let somebody abuse you either. You don't just let a person, injure you, and because a woman can do damage to you. But the way it's spun nowadays, it's like a woman can't hurt you, so you should just allow her to slap you, hit you, do all kinds of things to you, and it's okay, but the minute that you respond in the physical, then somehow you are you're wrong. I mean, you are wrong to the fifth power, and people will try to kill you in response to you hitting a woman, but we're starting to see that that's just not the case, because these people who are out here who want to be women sometimes and want to be men the majority of the time are not. Men are just not putting themselves in the line for that. If you don't want to be a damsel in distress, then that's fine. Damsels in distress make no mistake about it. They let it be known that they need help. They need a man all the time. So, and by saying that, I mean, one has to ask the question also that, if a man is supposed to control his emotions, what about the woman? Why is the woman not required to control her emotions? As a man, all you have to do is just ignore a woman when she's all emotional. And she will attack you physically. I've seen it. I've been a victim of it. And you're supposed to just weather that. And then when, the cops show up, they're automatically going to assume that you did something to that woman. I had a situation where I called the police on a female that hit me. And they spent a good 10, 15 minutes trying to get me to say I hit her. And it didn't happen. And that wasn't, all my years working with in a female dominated field, I've had about three good incidents where women have struck me, and each time I lost my job, and I didn't hit them back. So that is the presumption. You are presumed to be guilty, and as a black man, let me tell you, sometimes you go in these places and they just don't like the way you look, but then black women don't care about that. But I'm going to show you another video that's a little update on the situation, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So, cue it up here. There we go. All right, let's take this.
So you may recall that I posted up a video in reference to the young lady that got hit with the brick. Sad to say that the dude that came on here talking about he saw it, watched it, he would do nothing again, was a complete liar. I have an actual video of the young men that you saw in the video with her that were there the night after the event happened. They arrived, I guess, right as she was getting into an argument with another young lady when she ended up getting hit with the brick. So check this out.
Girl, she was sitting right there, but
She was literally right there, bro. See what I'm saying?
And like coming from the gas station.
We just came from the gas station, right? And she was talking about she got hit with the brick. You know what I mean?
And then we was asking.
So we just like, what just happened, bro? Who just hit you with a brick? She talking about a guy in a suit. You know what I mean? But we saw the guy earlier though. We never knew he was a bad guy though. You know what I mean? We saw the guy earlier, like we working and stuff like that. So that was around here and stuff like that. That was moving and stuff like that with the girl before she got hit with the brick, you know. So what happened? We just don't know what happened. I think they had like a argument or something like that. We just don't know.
Before that, she was trying to fight with another.
Yeah, she was trying to fight with another girl right there before she got hit with a brick. You know what I mean? She was trying to fight. You know what I mean? So what happened is we were just out here. We was chilling and stuff like that. We went in the gas station right after we came back outside. She was right there talking about I got hit with the brick, you know, and we was trying to help her. That's all we was trying to do.
Okay, so you see that these guys, she went up and she talked all this trash to these guys. These were the very guys that she told basically you niggas didn't do nothing, and all that. Y'all see me get hit with a brick, and these guys are telling me, look, we saw some of it. She was out here, beefing with another girl, trying to fight another girl. And then they go off into the gas station, come back out of the gas station, and she says she got hit with a brick, by some guy in a suit. Okay. So you're out there acting a fool. And we've seen her from these other videos on how she acts a fool. You know what I mean? You've seen some of the other shows out here. They've shown you her slapping guys and whatnot. And, this is not new to her. This is something that she does. She's done. This is a part of her, her personality. She like I said, she can't do that stuff in these other countries where she came from. Supposed to be a Somali immigrant. You're not going to act a fool over there like that. And, from what I've heard, she's been disowned, by her folks there because of some of the stuff that she does. She comes over here, she's doing the booty popping and all that kind of stuff and slapping white men and whatnot. And, it's just more, beastly behavior, from, these types of women. And then when there is some accountability for the activity that they engage themselves in, then somehow we are required to come in and save them. Like I said, this is just like the Chicago incident. Rather than staying away from or trying to remove yourself from a situation, you feel like you should be able to continue to stand there and talk shit, and, we know what happens. If you're a man and you stand in a situation like that, you're supposed to be mindful of your surroundings, you're supposed to, survey that situation to see, how you can be able to get out of this situation, whether somebody is checking you out to hit you from another angle or whatever the case may be. Well, ladies don't really do that, but this is a new environment out here. You go out here and you think you're pretty, and you've been gassed up by the internet and social media and whatnot. And you go out here and you think you can do all of these things. You think that the world is something that it's not. You think things are going to manifest for you in a way, because you see the black girl magic all around you on the internet that they try to convince you is real. And it looks like she drank the Kool-Aid. And as all of this has been going on, black women have been upset that we as men have required both sides of the story before we start to weigh in on, protection or the case may be. Now, years back there was a situation on a train in New York where these girls were sort of egging these guys on, messing with these guys, and one of the girls, came up and slapped this dude, and then he slapped her back, and they pretty much whooped the girls on it, until they stopped it, but that was retaliation against an attack against them, because these women feel like they will not have to face any kind of repercussions for the behavior that they exhibit. They assume that they're going to be left alone, no matter what type of activity that they engage in, no matter what they do, and they choose to do the opposite of what is common sense. I watched another show here, and it was talking about what to do to survive if a gorilla charges you. Okay, so it showed all these people. There's a white lady there, it was a guy who was the guy, black guy, and the gorillas they walked up on the gorillas too fast, and the gorilla charged. Okay, so basically, what you do is you drop down, you make yourself small, and you drop your eyes. You don't even make eye contact with the gorilla, because the gorilla is going to look at that as an unassuming and non-threatening posture. Okay, that's easy, and it's almost universal language. If you come across as non-threatening, 9 times out of 10 you won't be messed with. But in a situation where violence is taking place, it seems like black women do the exact opposite. They puff up and they become even more violent, thinking that they can act like a male and scare off, the opposing violent behavior, when that's not going to happen, because that other violent individual who is a man knows that they can overpower you. They know that they can devastate you physically, but the only person that's not realistic about their physical capabilities seems to be women nowadays. You see it across the board. I blame the media for that. You see women out here, on these TV shows, Black Widow and whatnot, and you see these women flipping, 280 pound men, and they're like, 120 pounds. They really believe they can do that. They really believe they can, take weapons away from men, and arm bar these men and all kinds of things, do all these, these nifty tricks. Well, I can tell you, I spent a little bit of time in the military too, and I never saw it. I have never seen a woman overpower a man. Never. The only time I've seen it on here is if you see a 200 and something pound, black woman with a little skinny dude, and she's beating him and stuff. I've seen that on social media. But a trained individual, and some of these people that are out here in the streets who aren't trained but are vicious individuals, you will not overpower these individuals. Just their force of will overpower you. But these women just don't want to hear that. They would rather puff up and then call for other men to come and protect them. And that's just not what you do. That's not what women in the past used to do. Women in the past will remove themselves from those situations. And it should be instinctive for you to move yourself out of those situations. But it just seems like now, these women just don't have common sense. And you keep hearing the same talking points. We make more money than you. We don't need you. We can take care of ourselves. And the world has become so soft that people who think like this think they can really take care of themselves. They can really, just get out of any situation because they make a little bit of money and they have a few clothes and they're pretty. And some of them aren't even realistic about how pretty they are. They aren't realistic about their weight. They aren't realistic about how pretty they are. They aren't realistic about most things that are going on in reality that most men look at from a logical standpoint. We have this magical thinking that takes place, and constant blaming of black men for them not being protected. But out of the other sides of their mouths, before they need protection, they all say they don't need us. So if you don't need us, then we're not going to move to protect you. If you're constantly out here bad-mouthing black men, then this is what's going to happen. If you're constantly saying that we're all Pookies and Ray Rays and we're all dusty and whatnot, this is what's going to happen. Well, let's hear the end of this.
I think we're trying to help her. I called the police and stuff like that. They pulled up. I talked to them. I know they got the video. The police got the video.
So you see the young man call the police for the lady. That's protection. He tried to help her while she was sitting up there saying you niggas didn't do nothing. That's protection. But these black men didn't do anything. These men just standing by. They don't even know this lady. They don't even know about what she was doing in the past and how she acts. But they did see enough about her getting this interaction, into this altercation where she ended up, getting bricked. So, this is this is just classic. It really is. Let's finish it up.
Yeah, we can pull out a video. I was talking to the police. She was behind me. You know what I mean?
Okay. So there you have it. Face all swollen up. You jacked up. You're gonna be down for a little bit. Hopefully she doesn't. She got some X-rays and whatnot, and she's not fractured all up. But she's gonna be down for a bit. But again, supposedly she got several $1,000s from they say almost $30,000 from a GoFundMe about a previous attack, and now she's already got this one up, talking about how she got smacked in the brick, with a brick. So she's probably going to make some money off of this too. She's always wanted to go viral, and I think this has done it for her. She's been put over the top. Everybody's talking about this. Everybody's again talking about black male protection and all of that. But if all of the help's being funneled towards black women and no help's being funneled towards black men, nobody cares about what happens to black men. Why should black men put themselves out there? We're not seeing any indication that black women care anything about us. Their political moves are not towards getting anything for us. It's just getting things for themselves. More money for themselves, more glamour, more magic, it's towards them. Whereas black men are out here talking about the community, talking about kids, talking about protecting, babies from being, victimized and whatnot. And you talking about, you see these women, they're like, fuck them kids, and, fuck everybody, fuck you niggas too, and, more black girl magic. Sprinkle me, man. That's what we got out here. So, this is kind of disturbing in a lot of ways, especially after listening to, the woman's perspective. It seemed like they were, if you go back and you look at their show and everything, it seems like they were making more excuses for this type of behavior, and talking about how bad the black manosphere is for talking bad about the lady and all these other things. These women are supposed to be our allies. Yet I can't help but see almost in every show there's some negative element towards the manosphere. That they are supposed to be a part of. They're supposed to be official members of the manosphere. The black manosphere, but they're trashing the men of the manosphere, saying that we consume too much negative, content regarding black women, and it's jading us and jading, the young men. never mind what we see every day about the negative behavior coming from black. The negative behavior towards us, the violent behavior towards us. You know, uh, just the negativity, general negativity. We don't talk about how, it used to be, when black people were in a space, you think, okay, hey, I might get a leg up. I might be able to get in on this because, she might help me. And, that happens sometimes, but then we got some in there that can't stand us and will prevent us, from getting anything in that position. Thank goodness I've had some, most of the women that black women I've come across have been good women, and, they've done well by me. I've had some that haven't, and, I can't act like that didn't occur. Just like a lot of us out here can't act like we don't see what's happening and don't see that this is, not beneficial for our community. It's not beneficial for women, period. Women out in front of fucking Popeyes, popping their ass and talking about, all kinds of lewd sexual acts and shit, in front of a damn Popeyes. If that would have happened 20 years ago, people would have said, what the fuck is this? Who allowed this shit to be on TV? Nowadays, it's celebrated. You see women with PhDs celebrating this type of bullshit. And when we say something about it, we're not protecting you. So we're not protecting you by telling you to act right, telling you to dress a little bit better. You don't have to, be buck naked out in everything. Every video doesn't have to talk about how you want to, have sex, pop your ass and do all kinds of just bullshit. I mean, it's just hoe is life, Everybody's on OnlyFans now, all kinds of, they just think that, it's just, ratchet is forever, But you're not telling these women that this type of behavior, it sticks with you. This type of stuff not only makes you look bad, it makes all of us look bad. See, I think that's something that we have forgotten, too, is that when these people see this stuff, they characterize all of us the same. They think all of us are a bunch of, uneducated, highly hypersexual, individuals that are out here just, living like monkeys. And we used to be mindful of that. But now, you got women out here just making excuses for it. There used to be a hierarchy among women. You had good women, you had young ladies, and you had no account hoes. Now, you can't tell the difference between none of them. And it used to be good women used to tell them hoes, you can't be around here. You can't be around my man. You can't be around here with that shit. You go on over to the red light district with that shit. Don't be over here. Tell me where women are correcting other women and setting this stuff straight. Trying to make it to where the young ladies are not growing up to be full-fledged hoes. They telling women, your body counts don't matter. Your attitude doesn't matter. They think that pretty is the same thing as femininity. You can be pretty and be an absolute animal when you open up your mouth. And that needs to be emphasized. That needs to be, addressed when you're out here. There is a time and a place for everything. But it seems like the more time that goes by, the worse we're getting. And these women are trying to do the same thing that men are doing. You compare this to, some of the nastiest rap in the late 80s and through the 90s. And you compare this Sukiyama shit, to that. And, shit it don't even rhyme. The shit don't even go together. It's just lewd, nasty, fuck music for the sake of it being nasty and lewd. They really think that people just gonna buy this shit just because there's a bunch of ass in it and a bunch of, cussing and talking about fucking and sucking dicks and all the kind of shit. Okay? They really believe that. And to some extent, they are. But I submit to you, is this how we want to be viewed as a people? Whether you like it or not, we are going to be looked at as the people who are responsible for you ladies, even though you are technically not our women, because you say you don't belong to us. You're the only group of women that say that y'all don't belong to your men. So when people look at us and say, what the fuck, y'all can't even control y'all women, you further emasculate us in the eyes of people around us. And you don't even realize it. So, like I say, the ladies on that show seem to be making arguments, for black men to accept this garbage ass behavior. And they make up all these scenarios, about, well, what about the woman who didn't hit anybody, and the woman who didn't say anything and she was accosted? That's not what we're talking about. If that's what happened, then that's a whole nother situation. Let's keep on the situation that actually happened. It's the same thing that happened in Chicago. They bring up all these fucking scenarios to get you off point because they can't keep their blinders on and stay focused. They gotta muddy the waters, make it into a whole bunch of other unnecessary shit, for you to have to put into the equation. It's like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if it rains? What if there's smoke? What if the person has wings? Even though there's no possible way for the fucking person to have wings, they're going to put it in there so that you'll have to consider it, which that is that dumb shit, that's the stuff that you just don't accept in the argument. We're starting to see a lot of this stuff in some of their professional works as well. Some of the literature that they're putting out. Some of this women's studies. It's the same stuff. They're bringing up these scenarios and shit with no data to support anything that they're saying. And then when you provide data, they refuse to consider it or even look at it. But there's a little piece of that, and there's more. If you want to look at more of it, there's more of it out here. Just go to TikTok, type in, brick lady, brick gate, brick, whatever you want to put in there. And, pretty much it's going to show you exactly, what you want to see. So, like I said, sorry about that.
So you may recall
Dang it. Computer's jacking up, not messing around. Anyway, so I'll go back on this and I'll show you some of the others. Here's all of the little videos where they're talking about. Here's another one here where she slapping the guy.
This is the same one.
Okay, so you see right there where she slapped the guy. And here's the one where she's saying that, she never did anything to anybody and all of that. It's just, it's just a hot mess. I'm sure Umar's going to get in on it. He's going to try to make excuses for why we didn't help him. There's another guy on here. I was trying to find him. He's in a truck talking about, how weak we are for not, protecting women and all of that. Oh, here's another one. I hadn't even seen this one. Let's look at this one.
This man just hit me in my face with a brick, and all these black men just watch, and they don't give a fuck. Yeah, this man hit me, grabbed a rock, and it hit me in my face because I would have given him my number. And all y'all just fucking watch. Y'all see that shit? Y'all see that shit? What do y'all do? I want y'all to be a man. I want y'all to be a man and fucking do something. Y'all gonna let a man hit me in my face? Man, fuck all y'all niggas. Yo, this man just...
Fuck all you niggas, see? Go out there, do something, Go out there, do something, Put yourself in harm's way for me, There's her little OnlyFans there. $40,000 raised for the brick lady. Check that one out.
Viral video of a woman named Roe Bash who sustained a serious hematoma injury after having a brick thrown at her face simply.
Okay, if you don't know what a hematoma is, it's basically it's a bruise, swelling, inflammation in that area. It'll pass. Hopefully she didn't, like I said, she didn't have any fractures and whatnot, but let's move on.
For not giving a guy her phone number. In this video, Roe is seen immediately after the fact criticizing all of the men in the community around her, who watched the whole thing go down, watched him threaten her, watched him throw the brick, and then watched him get in his car and leave. Now, of course, men are not just soldiers to deploy for women every time shit goes down, but I feel that as a general rule of civilized society, if you have the power to do something, you do something. You might be thinking, Lauren, we weren't there. We don't know that these men really did nothing or they even...
See, there's that argument. Civilized. In this civilized society, we're just supposed to run out there and just get in the way and just intervene for any random woman that is being assaulted. You just run out there and you just put yourself out there. That's the belief.
Knew that this was going on. Let's hear from one of the men who was there.
Okay, this guy, they say he wasn't there. So let's move on past him.
The reality is that both men who were slapped by Roe were voluntary consenting participants. This is a performance bit that Roe regularly does at demonstrations where white men volunteer themselves to be slapped by Roe in order to pay her reparations. Even if you don't find the bit funny, the guys are all having a laugh and are 100% in on it. But even if they weren't, none of the witnesses there said that she ever laid a hand on her attacker. Did she get in his face? Sounds like it. Was she being annoying as hell? Very likely. I think we can all relate to being at some point in our lives where someone is pushing us so far to our breaking point that we're about to have like a Bart and Homer moment, but then we don't. Any good man would have walked away. That's all you have to do. If all she's doing is calling you names and being a general nuisance, then there really is no action that is justified other than maintaining your peace and walking the f*** away. This was not karma or proper...
Okay, what is the requirement for the woman? Why didn't she take a deep breath and walk away? Why didn't she do that? Because I can tell you, if you would do that to the police, they're not going to walk away from you. They're going to buzz your ass up, one of them tasers, or they're going to spray you down, and they're going to put your ass in the back of that car. Or they might bullet riddle your ass because they're afraid for their lives, But for some reason, men are always supposed to have their shit together. You're always supposed to have your shit together when it comes down to a woman. But see, this comes back to that Victorian era bullshit where you're supposed to be chivalrous. You're supposed to allow the lady to just, do whatever she wants to do. She can slap you and all of that. And that's all supposed to be so acceptable. But let's think about that for a second. They used to show you in Hollywood that if a woman slapped a man, he would slap her back. But you know what they've done? They've scrubbed all those videos. You can barely find those videos on YouTube. You used to be able to see them all the time. Type in Hollywood slaps. Okay? It used to be a thing where people would hit the woman back. First, they used to shake the shit out of the woman, and say, hey, get it together, slap her, because they used to call it hysteria. A woman would just get hysterical, and now that's like a bad term. It's like, well, that's not real. That's just men, abusing women and all that. But you know what? If you watch women's behavior, you'll start to see that they can become so emotional. They will attack you for absolutely fucking nothing. You know, that's almost hysteria to me. That almost fits the description. You know, and rather than you really doing something really bad to her, you slap her ass to snap her out of it. Now that's what they used to do. They've even showed women slapping hysterical men to get them, man up, get it out. Look, I remember there was a show where John Wayne slapped the shit out of a woman because she said something about his mama. Said, don't you ever say anything like that about my mother ever again. He slapped you out. Okay? Now, they act like this just came from out of nowhere. You know, this has been going on forever. You know, you had Sean Connery on saying that he had to slap shit out of his wife sometimes just to, because she just wouldn't stop. You know what I mean? And a slap is not a punch. It's not and I'm not saying that, hey, that's, this is acceptable behavior. I'm just describing what used to take place. Okay? But see these, and now you have women saying that it's abusive for you not to acknowledge her, not to listen to her, not to do what she tells you to do. You're narcissistic and all that. They have all these terms and shit that, to describe why they should be able to abuse you, why they should be able to leave you, why they should be able to do all these other things. But, if you're so smart, if you are so educated, then y'all should know how to get yourselves out of the situation. You should know when you're in a situation that's going to lead to violence. And you should exit from that situation. But yet we constantly see women making excuses for why, these women should be allowed to continue to act a damn fool. And men should just walk away.
Her comeuppance for her past behavior. This was attempted M-word. I hate this app. Plain and simple. And this isn't just a men have failed women yet again issue. It's not just men.
Now she's bumped it up. She's bumped it up to a simple assault, to attempted M. You see where this goes? This is the same type of stuff where, these things get blown out of proportion, and next thing you know, this man will be tried in the court of public opinion. Now, he never should have hit this woman with a brick. I understand that, but to bump it up to attempted M. You see what I'm saying? You see how this is this is how these things take place.
Men who failed Roe. Women are also blaming her for her own attack. There are so many good people in this world, and I think most of us like to think of ourselves as good people. But if we're standing around while people are throwing bricks at people, and then we're standing around while people are justifying throwing bricks at other people, how good are we? This is the
Okay. I have another take on that. If you are standing around while people are throwing bricks, you're a damn fool. When people start throwing bricks, you run. Black folks have known this forever. People throw bricks, you run. You get away from underneath the brick arc. Okay? But no, she has another take on it altogether. Yeah? But here, this is the same old bullshit that you start to see from women trying to say that this type of behavior is acceptable for these women. Acceptable. No. Here's all of the, the terms that you use. A guy comes out on brick incident, the brick lady, the brick incident original account, the brick update, the brick incident speak up, brick lady, brick incident video, brick. If you want it, it's out there. Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna leave it right there. If you guys, have any comments, I'd love to address them in the comments. Thank you for you guys sticking around with me and continue to stick with the show. I will be more diligent and try to put up some more shows as I've been gathering a bunch of information, trying to put shows together. But like I said, I've been working hellacious hours. 16, 18, 20-hour shifts, some of them, man. It's crazy. So, yeah, it's just crazy out here. And, COVID's coming back. We got cases, that are popping up all over the place. We got staff coming up sick. You got people in the ERs coming up sick. Whole nother, subject entirely. But, that is my world. So I will do my best to continue the work. And guys, let me know how you like the show and what you think about Brickgate and black men not protecting black women and all of that. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.